Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about the clownfish. So there are hundreds of different kinds of clownfish. They have a lot of color like yellow, black and blue, but the most common kind of clownfish are orange with 2 and 3 white strip outlined in black. And the type of clownfish that we are going to talk about today is called a common clownfish. The scientific name is Amphibion ultralurus. And let's move on to the next slide. We're going to talk about the classification of the clownfish. So here's the classification of the clownfish. So we know the clownfish is a marine animal. It has backbone, so that's why it's called chordata. And the class is Actinoturci, which refers to the red-fin fish. The order is Perciformes, which is belong to the class of red-fin fish. The family is Pomacentridae. It's a family of clownfish and a damselfish. The genus is Amphibion. The scientific name is Amphibion ultralurus, which is just mentioned above. And it has a lot of common names. You can call it clownfish, anemone fish, or just call it Nemo fish. And the clownfish can grow to be from 3 to 4 inches, and of course they live in the salt water. And the lifespan is around 4 to 8 years. Their main color is a mix of white and orange. If you look closely, you might see the thin black lines around the white strips. It's really thin, so you might not even see it. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. We're going to talk about where we can find the clownfish and where they live. So, where does the common clownfish live? So they live in the Indian and Pacific Oceans because they like the warm water there. And their habitat is the tropical coral reefs. So, I'm going to talk about the ecology of coral reefs right now. Let me clean this real quick. Okay, so the coral reefs can be found in clear and tropical oceans. So the sun is their only source of energy for their ecosystem, and the coral reefs are developing in the areas that have a lot of wave action because the wave bring food, nutrient, and oxygen to the reefs. And the coral reefs also work together with algae called zooxanthellae. This type of algae also help the coral reefs with their food and oxygen. And the next one is the relationship between the animal and the coral reefs. So the animal use the coral as their apartment for protection and reproduction maybe. Okay, so the next one I'm gonna talk about the migration pattern. For the type of fish, they don't really go far away from their place. They just kind of stick around the coral reefs because the coral reefs provide protection and a place for their reproductions. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next slide. So next slide we're going to talk about the interaction between the clownfish and their environment. So now we're going to talk about the interaction of the clownfish with the environment. The clownfish really like to live around the sea anemone. They are symbiosis, which is described as a special relationship between the clownfish and the sea anemones. They are the only fish that do not get stung by the tentacles of the sea anemones. The clownfish have a slimy mucus covering that protects them from the sea anemones. However, if this covering is wiped off of the clownfish, it will get stung and possibly be killed. The clownfish and the sea anemone help each other to survive in the ocean. So, while being provided with food and the algae that left over from the anemones, the clownfish also help the sea anemones with the water circulation because the clownfish fan their fin while swimming about. So, now we're gonna move on to the next slide. We're gonna talk about what the clownfish eat. So, what type of food do the clownfish will eat? So they are omnivore. They eat aquatic crustaceans, zooplankton for the animal foods. They eat algae for the plant foods. For a diet, they eat copepods, isopods, and algae, and also zooplankton too. And they also eat the dead tentacle of the anemone and also the plankton. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the basic anatomy and physiology of the clownfish. So here's the anatomy and physiology of a clownfish. First of all, we're going to talk about the circulatory system of the clownfish. The clownfish have a closed circulatory system. They have vessels that carry blood through the body. They have two-chamber heart and one lung system. And their respiration is that the clownfish breathe through gills, and they have the gills have like 3 functions. First is exchanging gas. Second one is removing nitrogen waste. The last one is osmolar regulation. And the clownfish also have the counter current flow, which is when the water moves away from the head and the blood moves toward the head. This allows more gas to diffuse across the clownfish. And the next one is the excretory system. So the clownfish excrete ammonia through gills and kidney. Clownfish have a really special locomotion, because of the swim bladder, which allows the clownfish to hang motionless in the mid-water. Clownfish also have like 2 dorsal fins to aid their locomotions. So thank you for listening. The next slide is a references slide. So I hope you guys have a great day.